Welcome, debtors and borrowers, to Bankruptcy Bailout, because debt ruins lives, not bankruptcy. My name is Matt Burkus. I'm a Colorado bankruptcy and student loan relief attorney, and today we're following up on another announcement from the Biden administration regarding student loans. And this is a pretty major announcement that they made, and that is that they are going to move all borrowers who are in default of their federal student loans into current status. So in my previous video a few days ago, we talked about how they're going to extend the pause in payments, or the COVID forbearance in student loan payments, through August 31st. And in addition to that, they're going to take all borrowers who are in default and move them into current status. And that's great, because when you're in default, they can take all kinds of action against you. Now, those actions, such as intercepting tax refunds and wage garnishment, have also been paused during this pandemic. But what they never did with the CARES Act and at the beginning is deal with people who are already in default. So at least up until now, if you were in default at the time when they implemented the payment pause and the forbearance on in-force collection, your loans, once they went back into repayment, would still be in default. But the Department of Education is taking care of that issue. So what should you be doing, or what should you be thinking about now that you don't have to worry about rehabilitating your student loans or consolidating your student loans to get them out of default? Well, now is the time to start thinking long-term about how you're going to resolve your student loan issue. I think it's becoming clearer and clearer that we're not going to see broad-based arbitrary forgiveness of student loans. It may still happen, but if it does, it's probably going to be a small amount anyway. Biden has only ever said he would go up to about $10,000, and that promise is getting dated. It's over 2 years old now, and no action has been taken. And between extending the payment pause until August 31st and now removing everyone who is in default and putting them in current status, we're probably coming to the end game, or we're probably seeing the end game on what they're going to do with student loans. So what should you do? Thinking long term, really at this point, you want to avoid putting your loans back into forbearance or deferment. All right. Now, if you have to, you have to. But you want to specifically shoot for a hardship forbearance, because at least under a hardship forbearance, the interest is not accruing. But your regular forbearances, the interest is accruing. But you want to get on one of the, if your income is low, you want to get on one of the income-driven repayment plans at this point. Because even during the payment pause, if you're on one of these plans, then these 0-a-month payments during the payment pause count towards the 20 or 25 years that you have to be in one of those programs. In addition, you have to be making payments in order to be eligible for most types of forgiveness, such as public service loan forgiveness, teacher forgiveness, and other types of forgiveness programs. And again, these payment pauses, or these COVID forbearance payment months, will still count towards that time frame. But you need to start thinking about long term. So I'd certainly say, once you get the notice, if your loans are in default, once you get the notice that your loans have been brought to current status, reach out to your student loan servicer and get on some sort of pathway to some resolution, long-term resolution of your student loans, either reestablishing a payment plan or most likely getting on one of the income-driven repayment plans. Because again, on those income-driven repayment plans, if your income's low enough, you can have a $0 payment and still count. So you can have a really incidental or token payment and make that payment, and it still counts towards that time frame. And at least you're not in default going forward, and that's going to also help your credit long term. Okay, that's the other reason the Biden administration is doing this, is to help people's credit. Now that student loans are not going to be in default, that's going to be a big boost on most people's credit. And then once you start establishing a payment history on whatever payment program you can get on, that's also going to help. So start thinking long term, how you're going to resolve your student loans, even if you don't like it, right? I mean, I get it. These income-based or these income-driven programs take 20, 25 years, but you know what? At the end of the time frame, any remaining balance is going to be forgiven. So at least get on that pathway, and then hopefully, down the road, we may get some new legislation or new programs that will help deal with student loans. There are bills pending in Congress, especially on the bankruptcy front, that will help people unload student loans who really can't afford it. And we need revision in the bankruptcy code anyway to make it easier for people to sort of self-select forgiving their student loans. But in the meantime, be proactive, get on a pathway to resolving your student loans. And just lastly, just so you know, there's no action you have to take to get your loans out of default. So if you're in default, the Department of Education is just going to do it for you. So you don't have to, there's nothing you have to apply for or anything like that. So once you get the notice that your student loans are out of default, reach out to your servicer and reestablish some sort of payment plan to get your loans on a pathway to resolution. My name is Matt Burkus. I'm a Colorado bankruptcy and student loan relief attorney. Best of luck to you.